Clare Mundell, a licensed clinical psychologist employed by a nonprofit hospital named Acadia in Bangor, Maine, discovered that for a period of 2.5 years, starting in 2017, she had been paid substantially less than her male counterparts, even with the same qualifications. Within a group of 5 psychologists at Acadia, comprising 2 men and 3 women, the male psychologists were compensated at rates of $95 and $90 per hour, while the female psychologists received approximately $50 per hour. All the psychologists possessed the same fundamental credentials for the role: doctoral degrees and licenses to practice psychology in Maine, with comparable experience and skills in providing psychological services. The hospital also conceded that it did not pay its psychologists differently due to any seniority system, difference in shift, time of day worked, or merit increases, but rather on what they termed a market-based compensation structure. According to Acadia, Dr. Anthony, Chief Medical Officer, recognized the need to bolster the hospital's mental health services by recruiting additional psychologists. He initiated this effort by recruiting Dr. D, a locally renowned psychologist with strong connections within Acadia and the community at large. After negotiations, Dr. D agreed to join at a salary of $95 per hour, reflecting, quote, his experience, availability, reputation, and contributions to the community, unquote. About a year later, Dr. Anthony hired another psychologist, Dr. F, setting the salary at $90 per hour. When Mundell was hired, approximately 2 years after Dr. F, Human Resources, with consultation with Dr. Anthony, determined that the market rate for her services was $50 per hour. This calculation considered factors such as staffing needs, Mundell's previous work experience, availability, and other relevant qualifications. Acadia claims that the pay rate was determined solely based on market conditions for the role of a psychologist, without any consideration of gender. In early 2019, during a hospital-wide review of employee compensation at Acadia, discrepancies between the salaries of men and women in similar positions were identified. These disparities were not attributed to gender bias, as some women were compensated at higher rates than their male counterparts, and vice versa. Among the discrepancies noted was a disparity in the pay levels of the psychologists. Upon discovering this gap, Acadia took corrective measures to eliminate the disparity and align all psychologists' salaries as closely as possible with market rates under the prevailing circumstances. Following discussions to find a resolution, Mundell informed Acadia of her resignation, citing the wage gap as a significant factor. Despite offering to work for 2 weeks to transition her patients, she was instructed not to return after completing the day. Mundell filed a sex discrimination lawsuit against Acadia Hospital under federal and state law, alleging violations of the Maine Equal Pay Law, the Maine Human Rights Act, and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. She also claimed unlawful retaliation under Title VII, the Maine Human Rights Act, and the Maine Whistleblower Protection Act. She sought to address the unequal pay practices and alleged retaliatory actions taken against her after raising concerns about sex-based wage disparities within the organization, and also pursued legal recourse through administrative process, filing complaints with the Maine Human Rights Commission and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission before proceeding to file a formal lawsuit in federal court. The court determined that the undisputed facts, including the acknowledged pay disparity between male and female psychologists at Acadia, established the core elements of a Maine Equal Pay Law claim. Acadia argued that the MEPL should not be interpreted as a law of strict liability, and contended that the statute required discriminatory intent to be proven for liability to attach. However, the court disagreed with this interpretation and sided with Mundell's position that the MEPL imposed liability for established pay differences between male and female employees without requiring proof of discriminatory intent. Furthermore, Acadia's defense based on market factors as the rationale for the wage gap was not accepted by the court as a valid affirmative defense, as it did not excuse the gender-based pay disparities observed within the organization. The court ruled in favor of Clare Mundell, awarding her $180,955 in damages. This amount included treble damages under the Maine Equal Pay Law, which allowed for any unpaid wages adjudged to be due,